It's finally that time of year again. Well, almost that time of year again. And what I'm referring to here is it's around about a few weeks until we get the Precure trademark for the next season. And so I thought it would be fun to speculate and talk about the future of the franchise. Now, if you're just here as someone who wants news and hard facts, well, yeah, this is a speculation video, so there's nothing but speculation here, nothing that's actually been confirmed yet. But yeah, let's just talk about some speculation. So the first thing I wanted to mention was the Reiwa era of Japan. The Reiwa era is a brand new era of Japan, new emperor, and new everything. Now, Kamen Rider uses this as an excuse to mix things up in the show. Every new era, Kamen Rider takes a fairly drastically different take and changes things. But Precure started pretty heavily into the Heisei era, which means that it's only been in one era so far. So it's too early to say as to how much entering a new era is going to actually change the franchise. And my theory, what I think that the era changes have already taken place. So basically, Hokuto Precure was the last series to both begin and end in the Heisei era of Japan. And it was an anniversary series. It celebrated the past of the franchise, and it even brought back Cure Black and Cure White for that one episode. And because of that, I think that Star Twinkle is supposed to be more of a transitional series because it starts in the Heisei era and ends in the Reiwa era. And so I think that in the grand scheme of the franchise, that'll be what it is, basically. It'll be the transitional series. Well, yeah, Star Twinkle Precure is a series that's pretty stylistically different to a lot of the previous ones and takes a few interesting changes to everything. For example, there's the more kind of drawn out sort of like sing-along henshin, and there's also Elena, who is a person of color, who is a main member of the team. And even in Hokuto had a male cure at one point. Now, of course, you could argue about the semantics of whether or not Honri counts as a proper cure or anything, but the sentiment behind it, the message behind it, was the idea that anyone can be anything that they want no matter what. And I feel like that basically confirms that, well, yes, Honri is a male cure. Do I think that the next Precure series will have a proper male cure as a core member of the team? No, not yet. I still think we're at least a couple years away from that, but I do think that they're kind of easing into it, actually. Again, that's what Honri is. And of course, the fact that Elena is a person of color as a cure, once again, I think it's Toei showing that they're willing and open to change, especially considering that Precure has been doing so well recently. The better Precure does, the more inclined Toei will be to actually take risks and chances like that. And so, yeah, I think that the sing-along henshin is going to be a thing that becomes more of a thing later on. I think the sing-along transformation in Star Twinkle is something that worked so well and everyone across the board really liked so much that I genuinely do think that that's going to be the new standard. We don't know that for certain, but I think that that's something they'll do. That's the kind of basic stuff out of the way. Now we can talk about future themes and what the next series will be about. Once again, this is just entirely speculation. And if you want a video of someone kind of going through all of the different potential themes for the future, I will link below a video by a YouTuber called Magical Cinnamon. He did 2 videos just talking about the potential themes for the next Precure series and everything. Because I'm not just going to talk about every single theme and go, I like this one, I don't like this one, I like this one, I don't like this one, because that kind of gets old. I'm going to talk about a couple of big ones, but that's about it. So the biggest rumor theme is a sports-themed Precure. In fact, actually, that's heavily rumored for both Sentai and Precure, and I think there's a 50-50 chance of it happening. The problem is, it's 50-50 as to whether it'll be Sentai or Precure, because I think there's almost a 100% chance of us getting a sports-themed series soon, and that's because the Olympics happen next year. And so it only makes, if anything, too much sense for Toei to go with a sports-themed series to tie into the Olympics, because it's basically free advertising. Now, arguments for it being Precure and not Sentai would be that Cure Star is currently one of the Olympic mascots, And if we had an Olympic themed series or a sports themed series, we could actually replace Cure Star as one of the mascots and have it be the new Precure protagonist instead. And that way you can tie things in nicely. But also, the argument in favor of Sentai is actually how badly Sentai has been doing recently. Super Sentai hasn't been doing all too great recently, ever since a specific series, and don't worry, that specific series will become very important later on in the video, trust me. But ever since a specific series, Sentai's kind of been hemorrhaging money. It's just been making less and less money each year, and it's not been doing too great. Luckily, the most recent series, Ryusoja, seems to be doing a little better, but it's a dinosaur series, and the dinosaur series always do really well. And so I think that they're gonna make the next Sentai series a sports-themed one because of that free advertising with the Olympics and stuff. Because if that can't save Sentai, then maybe it will be time to start thinking about putting it on hiatus. Another reason I think that Sentai could be the one to get the sports-themed series instead of Precure is because of the international appeal. The Olympics aren't just aimed at Japanese people, they're aimed at, well, the entire world. The entire world has its eyes on Japan for next year. And, well, which of the two franchises is more globally popular? Super Sentai or Precure? Obviously Super Sentai because of, well, Power Rangers. Of course, Precure has Glitter Force as well, but I feel like Glitter Force has been put on hold for now. So it's safe to say out of the two franchises, Super Sentai is the one with the more global appeal because of Power Rangers. And so I think it could also benefit, from the more worldwide attention as well. Now that we've got all that out of the way, let's talk about another theme, because again, there's a bunch of other themes you could do. I've seen the idea of an ocean themed series floating around. I don't particularly love that theme, but it could make for a good series. I'm gonna pitch my own. We're not gonna get into too much information or detail, but Cure Harmony has been working with me on this. I'll link both her Twitter and her YouTube below. She does a bunch of Precure related stuff, and she's been helping me work on this. I'll be showing a bunch of artwork from her as well, not just me. And we've got around about, we've put an equal amount of work into this each, I'd say. Basically, a theme that I like to see is, this is just a speculation video. This is not based on any facts or anything, so I'd be very surprised if they actually did choose this. But if I were to choose any theme for Precure next, it would be a train series. Now you may be thinking, okay, why trains? That seems a bit weird. And I'll tell you why. I think it has a lot of potential, and it's something different, and it's something that could be successful. And I'll explain that a little bit, because first of all, trains are really successful. One of the most popular series as a Kamen Rider ever made was Kamen Rider Den-O. In fact, it was so popular that they kept making movies for that series years and years after it finished airing. And even in the most recent Kamen Rider crossover movie, Kamen Rider Den-O got a surprising amount of attention and screen time, even though it was a series celebrating the entirety of the Heisei era. Yeah, Kamen Rider Den-O is a really popular series, it was really well received, and it did really well, and I feel like the train theme has something to do with that. Now, remember earlier when I said the Super Sentai has been hemorrhaging money for years? Well, the most recent series to actually not hemorrhage money, to actually do really, really well, is Resha Sentai ToQger, the train-themed Sentai. And if you look at Western perception of ToQger, you get mixed opinions. You get people calling it dumb and silly and stupid, and trains are dumb. But if you look at Japan, well, Japan likes it exactly because of that, because it is dumb, silly, and self-aware and fun. And ToQger is actually my favorite Super Sentai series. That's the thing, these two series, Den-O and ToQger, they really take advantage of the train theme, and they did really well, and there's a lot of iconography to do with trains that you can make toys of, there's the stopwatch that conductors use to make sure they're on time, there's whistles, there's flags, train tickets, all that other kind of stuff. There's so much you can do with trains, and they're really big and popular in Japan. Most people in Japan use trains as their daily mode of transportations. They're arguably more popular than cars in Japan. That's kind of massive. That's a really big deal. And so it makes sense to introduce, little girls to trains early. And if you're thinking that's series theme is too gender neutral, well, Star Twinkle Precure is space themed. That's a really gender neutral theme. For Taiwa Precure, the very first series was based around the yin yang. That's a pretty gender neutral theme. You know, we've had tons of gender neutral or even just techie sorts of themes before, and so I don't think that trains is a stretch. In fact, Toei were fairly reluctant to doing Star Twinkle Precure at first because they didn't know how much their audience would like such a gender neutral theme, and it paid off. Star Twinkle Precure is doing really, really well in Japan right now, and so I think they might want to go further with that. So yeah, that's what I think. Of course, as to what theme they're actually going to go with, it'll probably be a sports themed series. If I had to guess what the most likely one is, it'll be that. But if I had to say which one I'd like the most, I think Train Series. And again, Train Series worked twice in the past for Toei. Both times they did Train Series were overwhelmingly popular. Tokushija even won Toei an award from the Japanese National Train Station just because they liked it so much. And I feel like that's the kind of thing they'd like to try again, and it's inherently going to be different to those two series because it's Precure, because you're aiming it at a different audience, because you're aiming it at girls, which means there's actually some more different stuff you could do with it in that regard. And so yeah, that's my speculation and thoughts on the next year's Precure. Yes, it is pretty much guaranteed that we are going to be getting another series soon. Yes, it is pretty much guaranteed that we will be seeing the trademark for it within the next month or so, because we always do. And yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know down below what kind of ideas or themes or just like things in general you'd like to see implemented in Precure in future. Of course, keep them somewhat realistic, something that Toei could actually do. But yeah, I'd like to see what you think, what your predictions are for the next series and everything. And I will see you later.